My name is Leo Morgan. I'm sitting on a multi-billion-dollar fortune, and my only problem in life is that I'm bored out of my mind. So, I decided to go to a children's home to adopt a sweet, adorable little girl who could brighten up my life. I immediately picked the one with the sweet face and grape-like eyes, Sadie Miller. But just as I was about to sign the papers, a line of blood-red text floated in front of my eyes. Warning: ultimate romantic fool. As an adult, she will empty your bank accounts for a deadbeat boyfriend, bankrupt your entire fortune, and literally cause you to die of a stress-induced heart attack. My hand trembled, the pen nearly clattering to the floor. The commentary feed then pointed me toward a quiet, withdrawn little girl in the corner. That one is the future $100 billion business tycoon. I looked at the two girls, both of whom seemed perfectly fine to me, then thought about the money I couldn't possibly spend in several lifetimes. I waved my hand magnanimously. You can stop the pitch, director. I'll take them both. Chapter 1. My name is Leo Morgan, 26, unmarried, and my profession is spending money. Yeah, you heard that right. My parents were self-made titans of industry. Unfortunately, the universe had a cruel sense of humor. A few years ago, on a trip to Antarctica to see the penguins, their plane went down. And so, I, their only son, was forced to inherit a fortune so obscene. It felt like a clerical error. Every day, I wake up in a bed the size of a studio apartment, and what I face isn't my dreams, but a balance of a few $100 billion and dozens of companies all clamoring for my attention. My life, frankly, was so dull it was just a string of zeros. To add a little spice to this painfully boring existence, I decided to do something big: adopt a kid. For one, it would bring a little life into this cavernous, empty mansion. And two, it would fulfill my parents' wish of having a grandchild. I had my assistant contact the best children's home in Seattle. The director herself met me at the door, her enthusiasm practically bouncing off the walls. Mr. Morgan, you are such a philanthropist. Please come in, come in. I gave a little wave to dismiss the formalities, my eyes scanning the group of children in the activity room. Soon, my gaze was drawn to a little girl in the corner. She looked to be about 5 or 6, wearing a faded pink dress that had seen better days. Her hair was in 2 pigtails, her skin was fair, and her big, watery eyes looked like 2 dark grapes. She was crouched on the floor, carefully dressing a Barbie doll that was missing an arm, muttering to herself. That earnest, adorable focus instantly captured my heart. That's her, the sweet little girl for me. Director, what's that girl's name? I asked, pointing. The director followed my finger, her face blooming into a wide smile. Oh, you mean Sadie? Her name is Sadie Miller. She's 6 years old, an absolute sweetheart. Everyone here adores her. Sadie Miller. The name was as sweet as she looked. I walked over and crouched down in front of her, trying to make my voice as gentle as possible. Hi there, Sadie. Sadie looked up at me, blinking shyly. Hello, mister, she whispered. Her voice was as soft as cotton candy. I felt my heart begin to melt. How would you like to come home with me? I have lots and lots of beautiful dolls at my house, much prettier than this one, I said, gesturing to the handicapped doll in her hands. Sadie's eyes instantly lit up, but she still glanced hesitantly toward the director. The director quickly came over to assist. Sadie, this man is a very good person. He wants to be your daddy. You'd have a real home. Daddy. Sadie tilted her head, repeating the word in her soft, little voice. I nodded eagerly. That's right, Daddy. Sadie looked at me, and then a huge smile spread across her face, revealing 2 rows of tiny teeth. She called out sweetly, Daddy. Boom. I felt fireworks going off in my brain. Worth it. My entire life was worth it for this moment. I made the decision right then and there. She was the one. The director was overjoyed and immediately led me to her office to handle the paperwork. In the office, the director pushed the adoption agreement in front of me, enthusiastically listing Sadie's many virtues: smart, cheerful, adorable, practically the most perfect daughter you could find on earth. I was beaming, completely sold. I picked up the pen, ready to sign my name on the adopter line, and that's when it happened. Without any warning, a line of blood-red text scrolled across my vision, like a live commentary feed. Critical alert. You are walking into a minefield. User, Cease your self-destructive actions immediately. Me? I thought it was a hallucination from staying up too late playing video games. I rubbed my eyes. But then, more comments flooded my vision, a dense wall of text that nearly blocked my view. Whoa, is this the legendary ultimate romantic fool, Sadie Miller? She's definitely a 10 out of 10 on looks, but her brain has been completely corrupted by the love virus. User run? Don't sign it. If you do, you're looking at the future winner of the Most Pathetic Billionaire of the Year award. At 18, she's going to fall for a top-tier scumbag, a gambler, a cheater, the whole package. Then she'll treat your companies like her personal ATM to fund his lifestyle. In the end, she'll burn through your massive fortune until there's nothing left. And she'll still think you're the bad guy, an obstacle to her true love. You'll literally die of a stress-induced heart attack in a hospital bed. Your last words will be, "My dear daughter, how could you be so foolish?" My hand, holding the pen, froze in midair. I was petrified. What the hell? A romantic fool? Bankrupt my fortune? Die of a heart attack? I looked at the innocent, angelic photo of Sadie on the agreement, then back at the alarming commentary stream. My entire worldview was crumbling. "Mr. Morgan, is everything all right?" The director asked with concern when she noticed my hesitation. I swallowed hard and forced a smile that felt more like a grimace. "Ooh, yeah, fine. Just a hand cramp." "A hand cramp? If you don't get out of here, it'll be your brain that's cramping." User, don't just sit there. Listen to us and run for your life. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to calm down. What was this thing? A system? A cheat code for life? As I was questioning my sanity, a golden line of text slowly drifted by. The Prodigy System has been activated. This system is dedicated to helping the user avoid all parenting pitfalls and raise the most exceptional daughter. Happy parenting. New mission. Reject the adoption of Sadie Miller. I stared at the golden text, lost in thought. So, I had bonded with a system? "Mr. Morgan, if you don't think Sadie is the right fit, we have other children," the director probed cautiously. Before I could answer, the commentary feed exploded again. "Look at the corner. The girl in the corner. That's the real prize. See her? The one in the old blue clothes, reading a book by herself. Her name is Quinn Reed, the future $100 billion business tycoon. Her personality is withdrawn, but her IQ is a staggering 180. In 20 years, she will single-handedly build a global business empire and become a financial titan who makes Wall Street tremble. Invest in her. It's a guaranteed win. Now that's not just a sweet daughter. That's a bulletproof vest." I instinctively turned and looked through the office window into the activity room. Sure enough, in a corner everyone else seemed to ignore, a small, thin girl was engrossed in a thick book. She looked a little younger than Sadie, dressed in ill-fitting old clothes, her hair a bit dull. Her head was down, so I couldn't see her face clearly, but her quiet focus, so out of place with the surrounding noise, made her stand out. Quinn Reed. I pulled my gaze back, looking from the adoption agreement on the desk to the two vastly different girls outside. One, a future romantic fool destined to squander my fortune. The other, a future mogul who could build an empire from scratch. Was this even a choice? The director, seeing my prolonged silence, looked disappointed, assuming I'd changed my mind. But I suddenly smiled. Only children have to choose. Me, Leo Morgan? I'll take them both. I picked up the pen and, with a flourish, signed my name on the agreement before pushing it back to the director. Sadie Miller. She's mine. The director let out a sigh of relief, her face wreathed in smiles. An excellent choice, Mr. Morgan. User, what are you doing? Are you insane? Did you not hear a single word we said? It's over. This user is too stubborn. He's a lost cause. System, do something. Taste him. Shock some sense into him. I ignored the feed, which was on the verge of exploding, and pointed to the corner outside. And that girl, Quinn Reed. I'll take her too. The office fell into a dead silence. The director's smile froze on her face. Her eyes went wide, and her jaw dropped open far enough to fit an egg. Mr. Morgan, what did you say? You want both of them? I leaned back in my chair, crossed my legs, and put on an air of nonchalant confidence. That's right. Is there a problem? Holy crap. Holy crap. This is an option. Well, damn, Call me impressed. A romantic fool and a business tycoon. This is going to be a real-life song of ice and fire. This is amazing. So amazing. I can't wait to see what happens next. System alert. User has triggered. A hidden scenario I. One all. System functions are now upgrading. Seeing the director's dumbfounded expression and the stream of 666 flooding my vision, a smug grin spread across my face. So what if I'm raising 2 daughters? It's not a big deal. I have more money than I know what to do with. You think I can't afford to support one future romantic fool? Worst case scenario, I'll just start course correcting now. I'll straighten out that warped view of love before it takes root. As for the business tycoon, perfect. One can handle domestic affairs, the other can handle the business. One will be responsible for being beautiful, the other for making money. It's flawless. The more I thought about it, the more I admired my own genius decision. Life was about to get very, very interesting. Chapter 2. The director was highly efficient, or perhaps she was terrified I'd change my mind, and rushed through the paperwork in record time. When I walked out of the children's home, holding a little hand on each side, I was still in a bit of a daze. Just like that, I was a dad? Sadie was clearly thrilled, chattering away the whole time, her eyes wide with wonder at everything she saw. Her tiny hand was wrapped tightly around my index finger as she looked up at me, calling me Daddy so many times my heart felt like it was turning to mush. The other one, Quinn, was the complete opposite. She walked silently on my other side, head down, her small hands tucked in her pockets, not saying a word. If it weren't for the occasional tug on the hem of my jacket, I might have forgotten she was there. Quinn, do you like dolls? Daddy can buy you lots and lots of them, I said, trying to start conversation. Quinn stopped for a second and looked up at me. And what eyes she had. Clear, calm, and with a calculating gaze that didn't belong on a child. It was as if she wasn't a 6-year-old kid, but a CEO evaluating an investment risk. She just gave me that one look, said nothing, and lowered her head again. Ha! Don't waste your breath, user. The business tycoon's brain is wired differently. She's not interested in dolls. Try talking to her about the latest NASDAQ index. She might respond to that. Yeah, ask for her opinion on the next decade of AI development. My mouth twitched. Talk to a 6-year-old about the NASDAQ? You guys are monsters. A stretch Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up smoothly in front of us. My assistant, Davis, opened the door and bowed respectfully. Mr. Morgan. Sadie let out a gasp. Wow, Daddy, is this your car? It's so long. You like it? From now on, it's our car, I said with a smile as I lifted her inside. When I turned to pick up Quinn, she had already climbed in by herself, found a seat in the farthest corner, and gone back to reading the old, tattered book she'd gotten from somewhere. The cover was worn away, but I managed to glimpse the title, The Wealth of Nations. Me? All right then. Exactly what I'd expect from a future business tycoon. The car glided smoothly toward my estate in Medina, just outside Seattle. Sadie was like a curious kitten, pressing her face against the window and letting out little squeals of delight at the passing scenery. Meanwhile, I was busy studying my commentary system. The Prodigy System 2.0 has been updated. New features added: daughter status panels, mission system, and store system. The user can complete missions to earn Prodigy points, which can be used in the store to purchase various magical items to aid in raising your daughters. With a thought, 2 virtual panels appear before my eyes. Name: Sadie Miller. Age: 6. Intelligence: 65. Peer average: 60. Emotional intelligence: EQ: 85. Naturally gifted. Appearance: 90. High potential. Health: 70. Slightly malnourished. Special attribute: latent romantic fool, inactive. Danger level: warning, activation may lead to total bankruptcy. Current status: full of excitement for her new home and deep affection for her new daddy. Name: Quinn Reed. Age: 5. Intelligence: 120. Genius level. Emotional intelligence: EQ: 30. Socially impaired. Appearance: 75. High potential with proper nutrition. Health: 65. Severely malnourished. Special attribute: latent business acumen, inactive. Potential level: future Forbes list topper, guaranteed. Current status: cautious of the new environment, emotionally neutral. I stare at the 2 panels, deep in thought. One with off-the-charts EQ, the other with off-the-charts IQ. One a future liability, the other a future gold mine. What a combination. Ding. Main mission issued. Course correction. Mission description. Alter Sadie Miller's romantic fool, destiny, and correct Quinn Reed's socially impaired weakness. Raise them to be well-rounded young women, excelling in character, intellect, and health. Mission reward. To be determined based on final completion level. Rewards will be substantial. Mission failure penalty. The system will force the user to experience a 4D immersive simulation of being driven to a stress-induced death in a hospital bed after Sadie bankrupts the family fortune. Replayable experience. I shuddered. That penalty was just plain evil. Ding. New side mission issued. A father's authority. Mission description. As a new dad, you must establish your authority with your daughters. Upon arriving at your new home, you must deliver the following line. From this day on, you are my daughters. In this house, what I say goes. My word is law. Mission reward. 10 Prodigy points. 1 ex-newbie gift pack. Mission failure penalty. User will experience a random moment of extreme social embarrassment. Example. Spontaneously singing, "I'm a little teapot" during a board meeting. Me? Well, that mission sounded simple enough. All I had to do was say one line. Half an hour later, the car pulled into a massive, multi-acre estate. The butler, maids, gardeners, chefs, dozens of staff were already lined up at the entrance. "Welcome home, sir. Welcome home, young missus." The synchronized greeting was impressive. Sadie was a little startled by the scene, her face a mask of shock as she clung to my clothes. Even Quinn looked up from her book, a flicker of surprise in her eyes behind her glasses. I cleared my throat. The time was right. It was time to display my authority as the head of the household. I took the two girls by the hand, walked up to the staff, took a deep breath, and began in what I hoped was my most serious and profound voice. From this day on, you are my daughters. Both girls looked up at me. I paused, gathering my composure, ready to deliver the second half of the line. Just then, Sadie let go of my hand, ran in front of me, and threw her arms around my leg. She looked up, her face angelic, and cried out in the sweetest, most adorable voice in the world. "Oh, Daddy, you're the best. Sadie loves you the most." As she spoke, she nuzzled her head against my pants. That soft feeling, that adoring gaze. My brain short-circuited. All thoughts of authority, rules, and law vanished into thin air. I couldn't help but kneel, scoop her into my arms, and plant a big kiss on her chubby cheek. "Oh, my sweet girl, Daddy loves you the most, too." Ding. Mission failed. Penalty will be triggered randomly within 24 hours. Please prepare yourself, user. Friendly reminder. The corporate strategy meeting tomorrow is mandatory. Please be on time. Cradling the sweet-smelling, soft little Sadie, I looked at the cold system notification and wanted to cry. This dad thing was not going to be easy. Off to the side, Quinn watched our touching father-daughter moment, silently pushed her glasses up her nose, and went back to reading The Wealth of Nations, as if none of it had anything to do with her. Chapter 3. To welcome my two little princesses, I'd had the butler convert the entire third floor of the mansion into a fantasy-like kid's paradise. The left side was a pink princess suite filled with every doll and pretty dress imaginable, designed for Sadie. The right side was a blue-themed suite that was less a bedroom and more a miniature library and science lab, designed for Quinn. I thought they would love it, and I was half right. Sadie walked into her room and immediately dived onto the giant princess bed, rolling around joyfully. Quinn, however, bypassed all the expensive-looking lab equipment, walked straight to the bookshelf, pulled out a copy of Das Kapital, found a quiet corner, and became completely absorbed. Me? Great. Their personalities were perfectly intact. User, don't just stand there. You have to do something. Sadie's romantic fool trait stems from a deep-seated need for affection combined with a lack of healthy perspective on money. You have to start teaching her early. As for Quinn, you need to pull her out of those books and get her to interact with people, or her EQ will be stuck in the negatives forever. The commentary feed had a point. Raising kids wasn't just about throwing money at them. It had to be strategic. So, after dinner, I summoned the two girls to my study for our first official family meeting. Ahem. I clear my throat. Sadie, Quinn, from today on, we're a family. To make sure our family is happy and harmonious, Daddy is going to announce a few house rules. Sadie sat on my lap, nibbling on a strawberry and nodding obediently. Whatever Daddy says, Sadie will do. Quinn sat on a small stool across from me, the copy of Das Kapital still in her hands. At my words, she finally looked up. I felt a glimmer of hope. At least she was listening. Rule number 1, I said, holding up a finger with a serious expression. The girls in this family must be independent and strong. You are not to accept things from just anyone, especially not from boys. This was step 1 in preventing the romantic fool outcome. Cut off the possibility of being bought with cheap trinkets at the source. Sadie blinked her big eyes, not quite understanding. But why? Because I scrambled for the right words. Because any boy who tries to win our Sadie smile with a few little gifts is a bad guy. They're trying to steal you away from Daddy. Hearing this, Sadie's cheeks puffed out, and she clenched her little fists. Don't worry, Daddy. I won't go with them. If anyone tries to steal me, I'll punch them. I nodded, satisfied. She was teachable. Rule number 2, I said, turning to Quinn. Quinn, I know you love to read, and that's a wonderful thing. But you can't just live in books. You need to get out more, make friends, okay? This was to boost her EQ. Quinn pushed her glasses up, thought for a moment, and then asked, What's the point of making friends? The question stumped me. She had a point. To a genius like her, other kids her age were probably just a bunch of snot-nosed idiots. What was the point? Answer her, user. Tell her friends are connections. They're resources. They're essential components of her future business empire. Speak her language. It was a flash of insight. Quinn, friends aren't just playmates. They're your future partners who you can, collaborate with. One person's strength is limited, but the strength of a group is infinite. It's called resource integration. Understand? Quinn nodded thoughtfully, then wrote 2 words in the margin of her book, human capital. I let out a sigh of relief. I'd managed to talk my way out of that one. All right, meeting adjourned. You two go play. Watching them leave, I felt like a master strategist, confident in my future parenting endeavors. I was, of course, completely delusional. The next day, I enrolled them in the most exclusive preschool in the city, the Evergreen Academy. That afternoon, I was in the middle of a critical strategy meeting at my corporate headquarters, discussing a multi-billion-dollar project. The boardroom was filled with dozens of top executives, the atmosphere thick with tension. I sat at the head of the table, listening to the CFO's report and nodding occasionally. Suddenly, my phone started vibrating like crazy. It was the preschool teacher. I frowned and declined the call. I was in a meeting, but the phone rang again. I declined it again. It rang a 3rd time. Everyone in the boardroom was now staring at me. Slightly embarrassed, I picked up my phone, intending to turn it off. Just then, a text message popped up. Mr. Morgan, please come to the school right away. Your daughter, she's in trouble. My heart skipped a beat. In trouble? Forgetting the meeting, I muttered take 5 to the room and rushed out. Hello, Ms. Davison? What's wrong? Is it Sadie or Quinn? The teacher's voice on the other end was choked with tears. It's Sadie. She beat up the class bully. I paused. She beat him up? Why? Because the little boy wanted to borrow her eraser. Me? She said you taught her that any boy who tries to win her smile with gifts is a bad guy trying to steal her from you. So she just went up and decked him. Now the boy's parents are here making a scene, and they're demanding an explanation. The world started to spin. That's not what I meant, my sweet girl. Before I could recover from Sadie's haymaker, Ms. Davison started crying again. And there's also Quinn. What did Quinn do now? My heart was in my throat. During free play this morning, the kids were playing tag. Quinn, she gathered all the other children, held a motivational meeting, analyzed the tagger's weaknesses, formulated a detailed strategic plan, and even implemented some kind of equity incentive, saying that whoever performed best would get an extra cookie at snack time. And the little boy he didn't catch a single person the entire time and ended up bursting into tears. Now all the kids are calling her Boss Quinn and refuse to play with her. They say she takes the fun out of everything. I hung up the phone and stood in the empty hallway, feeling dizzy. One of them had interpreted my anti-scumbag lesson as a call to violence. The other had turned my make friends advice into a corporate team-building exercise. These two They were definitely my daughters. As my head throbbed, I suddenly remembered yesterday's failed mission penalty. Penalty will be triggered randomly within 24 hours. The corporate strategy meeting tomorrow is mandatory. Please be on time. A jolt went through me as a terrible premonition washed over me. No way. I turned stiffly and pushed the boardroom door open. Dozens of executives stared at me. I forced a calm smile, walked back to my seat, and cleared my throat. Sorry about that. A personal matter. Let's continue. But just as I opened my mouth to say, let's move forward with the project, a mysterious force took control of my body. My mouth, acting on its own, began to sing. I'm a little teapot, short and stout. My body even moved along with the lyrics, my hands forming a handle and a spout. Here's my handle, here's my spout. When I get all steamed up, hear me shout. Tip me over and pour me out. The entire boardroom was plunged into a dead, horrified silence. Dozens of executives, each with a 7-figure salary, stared at me as if I'd been replaced by an alien. Their expressions shifted from shock to disbelief to a profound questioning of their own sanity. Me, Leo Morgan, the multi-billionaire CEO of Morgan Industries, had just performed a full rendition of I'm a Little Teapot, complete with choreography, in front of my entire senior leadership team during the most important meeting of the quarter. In that moment, I swear I had an out-of-body experience. LMAO X 999. Social suicide. This is a legendary moment of social suicide. How'd that feel, user? Was it as thrilling as we promised? I got a recording. It'll make a great video to show your daughters when they're older. With a blank expression, I finished the song, stood up straight, and looked at the sea of petrified faces before me. I took one deep breath and uttered a single word. Adjourned. Then, without looking back, I walked out of the room, leaving a trail of shattered worldviews in my wake. System, I won't forget this. Chapter 4. I picked up my 2 little troublemakers from the preschool that evening. The car ride home was heavy with a dreadful silence. Sadie kept her head down, fidgeting with her fingers and occasionally sneaking a glance at me, the very picture of a child who knew she'd done wrong. Quinn was her usual self, buried in a book, but the tense line of her jaw told me she knew she had also messed up. I said nothing, not because I didn't want to, but because I was afraid if I opened my mouth, I might actually have a heart attack. Back home, I had the butler take them upstairs for their baths while I sat alone in the vast, empty living room, contemplating my life choices. On their first day of school, one became a playground enforcer, and the other became a social pariah. And I had committed career-ending social suicide in front of my entire company. This was, without a doubt, a hellish start to parenting. Don't lose hope, user. The first step is always the hardest. You still haven't opened your newbie gift pack. Want to see what's inside? There might be a surprise. I'd almost forgotten. I still had that gift pack. The mission had been a failure, but the reward for the first mission had still been issued. Open it, I thought. Ding. Congratulations on opening the newbie gift pack. Item acquired. 1 X-Truth Locket. Skill acquired. Parenting Encyclopedia Beginner. Points acquired 10. Truth Locket. When used on a target, forces them to speak only the truth for the next 60 seconds. Single-use item. Parenting Encyclopedia. Beginner. The system will now upload fundamental knowledge of child psychology and educational principles into the user's brain. In the next instant, a flood of information poured into my mind. Information about children's developmental stages, sensitive periods, and communication techniques for different personality types. Even though it was just the beginner level, for a complete novice like me, it was a godsend. I took a moment to process the new knowledge, feeling slightly more equipped to handle my 2 little handfuls. Just then, the girls came downstairs, dressed in cute cartoon pajamas. They stood side by side in front of me, heads bowed like 2 little criminals awaiting sentencing. Daddy, I'm sorry, Sadie said first, her voice trembling. I shouldn't have hit him. I was also wrong, Quinn added, her voice small but clear. Seeing their pitiful expressions, half of my anger dissipated. According to my newly acquired knowledge, when children make mistakes, you shouldn't just scold them. You need to guide them. I took a deep breath to calm myself. Sadie, tell Daddy, why did you hit that little boy? I asked in the gentlest voice I could manage. Sadie's lip quivered. Because you said Boys who try to win my smile with things are bad guys who want to steal me from you. He wanted my eraser, and I was scared he would take me away, so I put my head in my hands. Right? My fault. My explanation had been too simplistic and aggressive, leading her to a completely wrong conclusion. Sadie, what Daddy meant was that we shouldn't be easily won over by small favors, and that we need to have our own judgment. But sharing things with classmates is a normal and kind thing to do, and hitting is never okay. No matter the reason, we can't solve problems with violence, understand? Sadie nodded, though she still looked a bit confused. I turned to Quinn. And you, Quinn? Why did you have to make a simple game so complicated? Quinn pushed her glasses up and answered very seriously. You said friends are human capital and resource integration. The game of tag is, in essence, a team versus individual game theory model. For the chickens to win, they must establish an efficient organizational structure and incentive mechanism to maximize the team's combat effectiveness. I was merely putting your theory into practice. Me? I was speechless. Her logic was flawless. She wasn't wrong. The world was wrong. The world's preschools just weren't ready for her advanced business acumen. Ha ha. You really dug your own grave with that one, user. A master of theory meets a prodigy of practice. But you didn't see that coming. I rubbed my temples. This was giving me a headache. It was clear that my educational approach had to be tailored to each of them, and my words had to be crystal clear with no room for misinterpretation. Quinn, your idea was excellent, very strategic, I said, choosing my words carefully. But playing a game is different from work. The goal of a game is to have fun, to enjoy the experience with friends. When you turn a game into a job, it's not fun anymore, and that's why the other kids didn't want to play with you. Making friends is about being sincere, about connecting with people, not treating them as resources to be managed. What I said before wasn't quite right, and I apologize for that. Quinn was silent for a long time after I finished. Then, she looked up at me and asked a question that struck me right in the soul. Daddy, are you sincere? I froze. Her small face was incredibly serious under the light. Did you adopt me because you really like me, or because I'm useful to you? In that instant, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. I opened my mouth wanting to say, of course I like you, but the words wouldn't come out, because I was guilty. My initial reason for adopting her was because the commentary feed said she was a future business tycoon, a guaranteed win investment. I had treated her like a stock with high potential. A project. I hadn't been sincere. The living room was silent. Even Sadie seemed to sense the shift in atmosphere and stopped fidgeting, looking back and forth between me and Quinn. Quinn just watched me, her clear eyes seeming to see through all my defenses. I could feel my face getting hot. Me, a 26-year-old man, rendered speechless by a 5-year-old. This is your moment of truth, user. Lying is not a good option here. A business tycoon's intuition is sharp. Want to use the truth locket? On yourself. On myself? Was I crazy? But looking into Quinn's unwavering eyes, I knew I had to give her an answer tonight. A true one. I gritted my teeth and thought system used the truth locket on me. Ding. Truth locket has been used on the user. 60-second countdown initiated. A strange sensation washed over me. I felt like my tongue was no longer under my brain's control. I looked at Quinn, took a deep breath, and heard my own voice say, I admit, when I first decided to adopt you, it wasn't because I like you. The moment the words were out, the light in Quinn's eyes dimmed, and her small body trembled. Sadie gasped. Whoa, the user is actually doing it. What a madman. My heart sank. This is bad. I wanted to fix it, but my mouth kept moving on its own. I adopted you because I knew you were smart. Incredibly smart. I saw you as a very promising investment. I thought raising you would be a fulfilling project. Quinn's head sank lower, nearly touching her chest. I wanted to bang my head against a wall. Damn this truth locket. But my mouth continued. But the word hung in the air, making both girls look up at me. But from the moment I brought you home, from the moment you quietly climbed into the car and sat in the corner with your book, from the moment I saw you at dinner, carefully only taking the food directly in front of you, I started to regret it. I regretted seeing you as a project. When I look at you, I see myself as a child. My parents were always busy too. They gave me a lot of money and toys, but they were rarely around. I was always alone in that huge, empty house, and I loved to read because books were the only things that wouldn't leave me. I see my own reflection in you, and my heart ached for you. I wanted to protect you, to give you a real home. I wanted you to know that you're not a project. You're a little girl who deserves to be loved. So, Quinn, I can tell you with absolute certainty now, I love you. Not because of what you might achieve one day, but simply because you're Quinn, my daughter. When I finished, I felt completely drained. The Locket's effect wore off. The room was so quiet I could hear her breathing. I watched Quinn nervously, terrified of her reaction. She just stared at me blankly, and then, slowly, her eyes behind her glasses began to fill with tears. The next second, a single, crystalline tear rolled down her cheek and hit the floor. It was followed by a second and a third. She was crying. This little girl, who had been as stoic as an adult since the moment I met her, was crying. She wasn't wailing. It was a silent cry, her small shoulders shaking with each sob. My heart broke. I reached out, wanting to hug her, but she moved first. She rushed forward just like Sadie had, and threw her arms around my waist, holding on tight. Daddy, that single word, thick with tears, was fragile and raspy. It hit my heart like a sledgehammer. I couldn't hold back anymore. I pulled both girls into my arms, hugging them as tightly as I could. Ding! Congratulations on completing the hidden mission. A sincere confession. Mission reward, 50 Prodigy points. Quinn's EQ +5. Quinn's trust level in user has been upgraded to trusted. Congratulations, user. You have taken a firm step forward on your journey as a father. Holding my two sweet, soft daughters, one on each side, feeling them cling to me, I felt my own eyes begin to sting. To hell with the business tycoon. To hell with the romantic fool. Right now, they were just my daughters. And I, Leo Morgan, swore I would make them the happiest children in the world. Chapter 5. After that night's sincere confession, my relationship with the girls grew much closer. Especially Quinn. While she was still a girl of few words, she no longer kept me at a distance. She would quietly bring me my slippers, sit silently reading a book while I worked, and one time, I even found she had put a slice of lemon in my water glass. When I asked her why, she said with a serious face, "The Guide to Healthy Eating says lemon water supplements vitamin C and prevents colds." I was deeply touched. Sadie, of course, remained my sweet, affectionate girl, finding new ways to compliment me every day. Daddy is the most handsome daddy in the world. Daddy is my superhero. It was enough to make my head spin. The exclusive preschool was no longer an option. I had no desire to receive any more complaint calls from teachers, nor did I want to perform any more children's songs in public. Instead, I hired a team of private tutors for them, providing one-on-one instruction. I also developed a detailed makeover plan for each of them based on their attributes. For Sadie's romantic fool risk, my strategy was a privileged upbringing plus moral education. I took her to all kinds of high-end events and venues, exposing her to what true high society looked like to cultivate her taste and broaden her horizons from a young age. The goal was to ensure that no scumbag could ever fool her with a cheap dinner and a knockoff handbag. At the same time, I made a point of telling her bedtime stories about avenging princesses or queens building their own empires, emphasizing that girls must rely on themselves and that boys are pigs. At first, it seemed to be working. Sadie showed great interest in luxury goods and fancy galas and was completely convinced by my strong female lead stories. Until one day, I took her to a business cocktail party. Dressed in a custom-made princess gown, she looked like a true socialite, elegantly nibbling on a petit four. Just then, the host's son, a chubby 7-year-old, walked over holding a glass of juice. "Hey, you're really pretty. Can I buy you this juice?" I watched, waiting to see my daughter coolly reject him. Instead, Sadie blinked her big eyes, accepted the juice, and then pulled a calculator out of her tiny purse. She punched in a series of numbers and showed the screen to the little boy. "I'll drink the juice. Based on market price, a glass of fresh squeezed orange juice is about $6. This dress is a custom Italian design, valued at $30,000. My time is also very valuable. I charge $20 a minute for conversation. You just spoke to me for 10 seconds, so we'll call it $3. Add the juice, and your total comes to $9. Cash or Venmo?" the little boy, me, the entire party. Seeing the dumbfounded look on the boy's face and the dropped jaws of the surrounding guests, I quietly covered my own face with my hand. Ha ha! The side effects of a privileged upbringing are kicking in. She went from romantic fool straight to material girl. Nice work, user. Now you don't have to worry about her getting scammed by a deadbeat. The deadbeat should be worried about being scammed by her. Business tycoon, smirking not bad, sister. Reminds me of myself at that age. I grabbed Sadie and made a swift exit, all the while deeply reevaluating my educational methods. It seemed my course correction had veered off into another ditch. Meanwhile, the social makeover plan for Quinn was proceeding in an equally bizarre fashion. To help her interact more with her peers, I used her name to send out invitations for a weekend garden party to the children of all my company's top executives. On the day of the party, my estate was bustling with activity. Dozens of kids of similar ages were gathered on the lawn, which was covered with snacks and toys. I gently pushed Quinn towards them, encouraging her. Go on, Quinn. Go play with them. Quinn pushed up her glasses, scanned the crowd, and then walked into the group. I watched with a sense of satisfaction. Good. This was a huge step towards social integration. 10 minutes later, however, the scene had changed dramatically. The previously noisy children were now all sitting quietly in neat rows on the grass. Quinn stood before them, holding a stick as a pointer and gesturing toward a small whiteboard covered in complex diagrams. Therefore, according to the prisoner's dilemma, if we fail to establish a unified system for toy allocation and exchange, the eventual outcome will be a net loss for all parties involved. I proposed the formation of a toy alliance, with myself serving as the chair, responsible for the centralized distribution of all toys. Members of the alliance can earn toy credits based on their contribution, which can then be redeemed for playtime with their desired items. The kids looked completely bewildered, but faced with Quinn's authoritative gaze, they all nodded obediently. I was flabbergasted. What happened to making friends? Since when did a playdate turn into a CEO's strategy seminar? I hereby announce the official founding of the kindergarten division of Reed Industries. All hail Boss Quinn. Other kids are making mud pies, and our Quinn is already building a monopoly. Are you trembling, user? She's using your resources to build her own empire. I was in fact trembling. I felt less like I was raising daughters and more like I was raising two future supervillains. One was a master of calculation, quantifying all human interaction in terms of money. The other was a master of strategy, turning children's games into corporate warfare. I sat by the pool, exhausted, my head in my hands. Just then, my butler, Davis, brought me a glass of iced water. Sir, try not to worry so much. The young misses are just exceptionally bright. Their way of thinking is simply different from that of ordinary children. I gave a bitter laugh. Bright? Their brightness is driving me insane. At least, Davis consoled, they aren't getting into fights at school anymore, are they? As soon as the words left his mouth, my phone rang. It was their private tutor. My heart skipped a beat. I had a bad feeling about this. Hello, Mr. Peterson? Mr. Morgan. The voice on the other end was panicked. You need to come home. Miss Sadie and Miss Quinn, they've tied up the new martial arts instructor. Me? I rushed home as fast as I could and burst into the third-floor activity room. The sight before me left me completely frozen. The new instructor, a man who supposedly was a national martial arts champion, was tied to a chair with what looked like a dozen jump ropes. His mouth was stuffed with one of Sadie's fluffy bunny slippers, and he was struggling, making muffled MPH sounds. Sadie stood over him with her hands on her hips, pointing a small ruler at him like a queen. Confess, were you trying to steal our things? My daddy said all men are pigs and can't be trusted. Meanwhile, Quinn sat at a small table nearby, calmly reviewing the instructor's resume. Place of birth, unknown. Work history, falsified. References, non-existent. According to my risk assessment model, you're a high-risk individual with a 93.7% probability of having malicious intent toward this household. The martial arts instructor looked like he was about to cry. I stared at the absurd scene, feeling my blood pressure skyrocket. What in the world is going on here? I roared. My shout startled both of them. Sadie ran over, looking aggrieved. Daddy, you tried to pat my head. You said I can't let strange men touch me. Quinn walked over and handed me the resume. Daddy, I investigated him. This man is a fraud. We were conducting a stress test to assess his true intentions. I looked at the resume, where Quinn had circled various discrepancies in red ink, then at the instructor, trussed up like a holiday turkey. For a moment, I was utterly speechless. Nicely done. Their counterintelligence skills are top-notch. The wariness of a romantic fool in training, plus the analytical skills of a business tycoon, equals invincible. User, this daughter duo of yours is a flawless scumbag/fraudster annihilator. I pressed my fingers to my forehead, feeling the world spin. All I wanted was to raise two normal, sweet little girls. How did it turn into this? Chapter 6. The incident with the martial arts instructor ended with me paying him a hefty sum for emotional distress. He practically tripped over himself running out the door, promising never to return. Later, I had my assistant do a background check. It turned out the guy really was a con artist. His resume was entirely fake, and his MO was to get hired by wealthy families and then rob them blind. So, in a way, my daughters had done a good deed. But I couldn't bring myself to feel happy about it. I sat in my study, staring at the system panel. The attribute values for both girls hadn't changed much. I was sinking into a deep state of confusion. Sadie's romantic fool risk had decreased, but her materialism attribute was skyrocketing. Quinn's social impairment had improved, but she wasn't making friends. She was recruiting subordinates. This was completely derailing from my original plan. Don't be discouraged, user. Education is a long-term battle. The store system is now open. Care to browse for some useful items? With a thought, I opened the store. A dazzling array of products appeared before me. EQ Crash Course Manual. Cost, 100 points. Temporarily boosts the target's social skills after use. Financial Literacy Primer Card. Cost, 100 points. Helps the target establish a healthy view of money after use. Absolute Obedience Mist. Cost, 500 points. Makes the target obey your every command for 1 hour. Warning, overuse may decrease affection level. My eyes lit up as I looked at these miraculous items. This was the solution I needed. Then I looked at my pathetic balance of 60 points and felt a pang of pain. Tying up the instructor, though justified, was deemed an improper method of handling the situation by the system, and it had docked me 10 points. It looked like I needed to start doing missions to earn more points. Ding! New side mission issued. School life. Mission description. Homeschooling cannot fully replace the experience of learning in a group. Please select a suitable school for your daughters and ensure they successfully integrate into campus life by making at least one genuine friend each. Mission reward. 200 Prodigy points. 1x random skill book. Mission failure penalty. The user will be forced to wear a French-maid outfit and serve the household for 1 day. I shuddered at the thought of the failure penalty. This mission was a must-win. However, a conventional elite preschool was clearly no longer suitable for my two little prodigies. I needed a place that could handle them. I had my assistant gather information on every elementary school in the city and spend an entire night screening them. Finally, my eyes landed on one particular school, the Northridge Holistic Academy. This school was unique. It offered not only standard academic courses, but also a wide range of specialty classes in arts, martial arts, and classical studies. Most importantly, its principal was a legendary figure. Rumor had it he was a retired martial arts grandmaster who ran the school with an iron fist. The academy had a tough reputation and specialized in taking on problem children who had been expelled from other institutions. Every student who graduated from his school, no matter how unruly they were before, emerged as a well-behaved, high-achieving, and respectful individual. This was it. I pulled a few strings with my superpower of money and smoothly secured enrollment for both girls. On the first day of school, I drove them to the entrance myself. Sadie, Quinn, remember what Daddy told you. At school, you must get along with your classmates, respect your teachers, no fighting, no building monopolies. Just be normal, good students, you hear me? I knelt down and reminded them for the 10th time. We know, Daddy. Sadie nodded obediently. Was Quinn's succinct reply. I watched their small figures, backpacks on, walk through the school gates, and I prayed silently. Please, let there be no more trouble this time. My prayers, apparently, went straight to voicemail. That afternoon, while I was enjoying a peaceful cup of tea in my office, my assistant Davis burst in, looking frantic. Mr. Morgan, bad news. My eyelid twitched. What now? The school called. The principal wants to see you. Davis panted. The principal? My heart sank. What do they do this time? It seems the young Mrs. made the principal's star pupil cry. My vision went dark for a second. The principal's star pupil? Wasn't that essentially the king of the school? I rushed to the school as fast as I could. The principal's office was as tense as a high-stakes negotiation. A silver-haired but vigorous old man sat at the desk, undoubtedly the legendary principal. My two daughters stood beside him, one on each side. Across from him, a sturdy-looking little boy was sitting on the floor, crying his eyes out, snot and tears everywhere. It was a truly heartbreaking sight. Why, she said my horse stance was sloppy, that my punches had no soul, and she said I had a kidney deficiency. The boy wailed, pointing an accusing finger. I looked at Sadie. She had an innocent expression on her face. Daddy, I was just telling the truth. When he was in his horse stance, his hips were too high and his foundation was unstable. What else is that but sloppy? And I saw that his face was pale, his lips were colorless, and he was unsteady on his feet. Isn't that a sign of kidney deficiency? I was just concerned about him. Me? How in the world did you diagnose him with a kidney deficiency? The principal cleared his throat, his sharp eyes, like a hawk's, fixed on me. Mr. Morgan, this daughter of yours has a keen sense of observation. I managed a weak, embarrassed laugh. Kids say the darndest things, huh? The principal then turned to Quinn. And what about this one? I heard you were the one who made my student cry. Quinn pushed up her glasses and spoke without a trace of emotion. Principal, sir, it is my assessment that the school's martial arts star selection process has a significant flaw. She pointed at the still sobbing boy, has been selected for 3 consecutive years, not because his skills are superior, but because his father is the school's largest donor. This presents a severe issue of capital corrupting academia. I propose a challenge. If we were to operate this selection process using a purely commercial model, through roadshows, crowdfunding, and marketing, I could guarantee that a student of average skill could surpass him in popularity. He disagreed, claimed I was insulting the spirit of martial arts, and then he started crying. I listened, completely stunned. Roadshows? Crowdfunding? Marketing? My daughter, you are 6 years old. Where did you even learn these words? Ha ha. It's a complete domination. A total beatdown on a different level. One used traditional medicine theory, the other used business logic. They completely shattered the kid's worldview. Principal, I've taught martial arts my whole life, and now you're telling me I need to run a fan economy. After hearing Quinn's explanation, the principal fell silent. He stared at Quinn for a long, long time. I was sure he was about to explode with anger. Instead, he slapped his thigh, stood up, and his eyes lit up with excitement. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. He walked over to Quinn, looking at her, as if he had just discovered a priceless gem. Young lady, your name is Quinn, isn't it? Your idea is brilliant, exceptionally creative. Then he turned to Sadie. And you, Sadie Miller, at such a young age, you can diagnose a person's weak constitution and unstable foundation. You are also a rare talent. Me? This wasn't how the script was supposed to go. Shouldn't he be scolding my daughters and telling me to take them home? Mr. Morgan. The principal grabbed my hand, his grip firm with excitement. These 2 daughters of yours are geniuses, absolute prodigies. They are tailor-made for our Northridge Holistic Academy. From this day forward, Sadie Miller will be transferred to the traditional wellness interest class, and I will personally mentor her. And Quinn Reed will be appointed head of this semester's Campus Reform Experimental Committee. I will grant you full authority to implement your business model. I was completely bewildered. So, not only were they not expelled, they were being given important new roles. Looking at the ecstatic principal and my 2 daughters, who both had an as expected look on their faces, I felt like I was living in a surreal dream. Ding! Congratulations on completing the side mission. School life. Judgment. Successfully integrated into campus life in an unexpected and perfect manner. Mission reward, 200 Prodigy points. 1x random skill book. Congratulations, user. You have acquired the skill book, Master Chef's Culinary Arts. Before I could even process my shock, my brain was flooded with a vast amount of knowledge about sautéing, frying, grilling, and the 8 great cuisines of China. So, my new job was to be the personal chef for a future wellness master and a pioneer of reform. I looked at the 4 large words hanging on the principal's office wall: to teach and to nurture. Somehow, I had a feeling my daughters weren't here to be nurtured. They were here to nurture everyone else. Chapter 7. After being discovered by the principal, my daughter's school lives took a sharp turn in a direction I couldn't have possibly imagined. Sadie thrived in the traditional wellness class. She displayed an astonishing talent for memorizing difficult herbs and the body's meridian points. The principal claimed she had a photographic memory. She could recite the entire Yellow Emperor's Classic of Internal Medicine after reading it for just 3 days. Before long, she had earned herself a notable reputation at school as the Little Miracle Doctor. During recess, while other kids were jumping rope or playing Foursquare, a long line would form beside Sadie's desk. Sadie, I've been losing a lot of hair lately. Can you take a look? Sadie, I'm always so sleepy in class. Do I have too much internal dampness? Sadie, my desk mate, I think he has a kidney deficiency. Is there any hope for him? Sadie would act like a seasoned practitioner, earnestly performing the 4 methods of diagnosis: observation, listening, questioning, and pulse-taking. Your tongue has a thick coating. Too much dampness. Cut back on the cold drinks. You have dark circles under your eyes. Lack of sleep. No more video games after bedtime. As for your desk mate, it's not a major issue. Tell him to eat more chives. Every time I went to pick her up from school and saw this scene, I felt like I had walked onto the wrong movie set. I was supposed to be raising a socialite, not a clinical physician. What was even more absurd was that she started her own business. She would dig up various herbs from the hill behind the school, process them herself, and package them into wellness tea bags. She had brain-boosting tea, body-strengthening tea, beauty, and complexion tea. At $1 a bag, they were a massive hit among the students. Watching her happily count her pile of coins every day, I started to have second thoughts. Was that $30,000 custom gown a complete waste of money? Meanwhile, Quinn's campus reform project was also taking off. Her campus reform experimental committee quickly evolved from a mere concept into a genuine power structure within the school. First, she optimized the cafeteria serving line by using big data analysis to accurately predict daily food consumption, which significantly reduced waste and even improved the taste of the meals. Next, she overhauled the school library's borrowing system by introducing a credit score system. Students who didn't return books on time would see their credit score drop, affecting their future borrowing privileges. She even implemented a KPI-based performance review for the school's janitors. The janitor responsible for the cleanest area or the classroom with the highest hygiene score would receive a bonus. After a series of these incredible maneuvers, the entire school was transformed. Teachers became more efficient, students were more motivated to learn, and even the cafeteria ladies served food with a steadier hand. Quinn went from being an unknown transfer student to the universally recognized and respected Boss Quinn. When she walked through the halls, she was followed by a group of loyal followers who would respectfully greet her with, "Good afternoon, Boss Quinn." I once asked her how the Make One Genuine Friend mission was going. She pushed up her glasses and gestured to her entourage. "They're all my friends. We share a common ideal and objective, to work together to improve the school. Isn't that the most sincere form of friendship?" I couldn't argue with that. Ding. Side mission, Make a Genuine Friend, has been completed. Judgment. Mission completed above and beyond expectations through the formation of a revolutionary friendship. Reward has been issued. I stared at the system notification, feeling a mix of pride and despair. So, after all my efforts, throwing parties, carefully selecting a school, one of my daughters ended up with a following of patients and the other with a team of subordinates. Was this really the school life I had envisioned? Days went by in this surreal atmosphere. My life transformed from that of a bored billionaire to a worried father, personal chauffeur, and private chef. Every morning, I had to prepare a nutritious breakfast for the family according to Sadie's wellness menu. Then I would drive them to school, where one would practice medicine and the other would reshape the world. In the afternoon, I would pick them up and listen to their reports on the day's profits and reform progress. It was exhausting, but seeing them grow day by day, one becoming more confident and cheerful, the other gradually showing a more childlike smile, filled my heart with a sense of purpose. Until one day, I received an unexpected phone call. "Hello, Mr. Morgan. This is the production team from America's Kid Geniuses. We've heard about your daughter's incredible stories and would like to invite them to be on our show. Would you be interested?" America's Kid Geniuses? Wasn't it the most popular kids' talent show in the country? My first instinct was to refuse. I didn't want to expose them to the media spotlight so early. But the commentary feed went wild. "Do it, user. Why wouldn't you? This is the perfect opportunity." The main mission, course correction, requires them to showcase their talents on a bigger stage. Besides, have you forgotten? The scumbag that Sadie is fated to meet wasn't it on this very show? This is a preemptive strike. Eliminate the threat before it even begins. That last comment hit me like a jolt of electricity. Of course, the scumbag. According to the fragmented information the system had given me, the man who would eventually trick Sadie and bankrupt me was a former child star. The two of them had met on a TV show, which was the beginning of their disastrous relationship. If I calculated the timeline, it had to be now. "Yes, we'll do it," I said into the phone, my voice firm. For the sake of my fortune and for my daughter's happiness, we had to go on this show. I was going to see for myself what little punk dared to have designs on my daughter. Chapter 8. The studio for America's Kid Geniuses was packed. As the highest-rated kids show in the nation, it attracted prodigies from all over the country. There were piano virtuosos, Latin dancers, and kids who could perform mental math faster than a calculator. My daughters and I were in a dressing room backstage, waiting for our turn. Sadie was dressed in a modernized, traditional-style dress I had custom-made for her, giving her an ethereal look. She held a small medicine box, which she claimed was her performance prop. Quinn was in a sharp little business suit, wearing a pair of non-prescription, black-framed glasses. She was studying the show's schedule and competitor profiles on a tablet. Based on my data model, the contestant with the highest probability of winning is contestant number 3, the mental math prodigy. His performance is visually impressive and easy for a mass audience to understand as genius. Quinn analyzed calmly. Sadie huffed. "What's so great about mental math? It's not like it can cure a cold. Just wait until I get on stage. I'll take the host's pulse. That'll really blow his mind." Listening to them, I felt a headache coming on. Other kids came here to showcase their talents. What were we doing? One was planning a live medical consultation, and the other was conducting a market analysis. "Don't worry, Dad," Quinn said, noticing my anxiety. "I've already developed contingency plans A, B, and C to ensure we achieve a favorable outcome." Before I could ask what her plans were, the dressing room door opened. A garishly dressed woman walked in, holding the hand of an equally slick-looking little boy. The boy was handsome enough, but he had an arrogant smirk that was instantly off-putting. Well, if it isn't Leo Morgan. Fancy seeing you bringing your kids to a show like this," the woman said with a sneer. I looked up and recognized her. It was the wife of my business rival, the new money CEO of Global Corp, Kevin Bishop Sr. I couldn't be bothered to engage and just gave a slight nod. Her son, however, was staring intently at Sadie. He flashed what he probably thought was a charming smile. "Hey there, beautiful. My name is Kevin Bishop Jr. My dad is the chairman of Global Corp, and I'm going to be a huge star someday. We should be friends. Here we go." My internal alarms went off immediately. This kid was a textbook scumbag in training. I was about to shut him down when Sadie spoke first. She looked Kevin up and down, then nodded thoughtfully. Your complexion is sallow, and your eyes are puffy. A classic unlucky in love physiognomy. Furthermore, the space between your eyebrows is dark, and your gait is unsteady. I'm afraid." She leaned in and whispered something in his ear. Kevin's face instantly went from pale to red, then from red to a sickly green. He pointed a trembling finger at Sadie, completely speechless. You're lying." "Ha. I bet Sadie told him he has a kidney deficiency." "Nah, my money is on her telling him he's cursed to bring bad luck to his parents and himself." Whatever she said, judging by his reaction, It was a critical hit. Seeing her son being bullied, Kevin's mom flew into a rage. "What kind of nonsense are you spouting, you little brat? You have no manners." "Ma'am." Quinn stepped forward, positioning herself between Sadie and the woman. She pushed up her glasses. "According to our risk assessment, 99% of males who proactively approach my sister do so with ulterior motives. My sister was merely providing a well-intentioned risk advisory. If you feel offended, we reserve the right to pursue legal action for slander." The woman was left sputtering, completely baffled by Quinn's corporate jargon. You people." Just then, the commentary feed erupted with urgent alerts. "Warning! Warning! The scumbag has appeared. Not Kevin. The one at the door. User look." The stagehand bringing in the tea. I whipped my head toward the door. A teenager in a staff uniform was walking in with a tray of water. He was about 15 or 16, with delicate, almost feminine features and a gentle smile that made him look completely harmless. He walked up to Sadie and said softly, "Here, little one, have some water to wet your throat. You'll want your voice to be ready for your performance." It was him. He was still young, but his features were already a 70% match for the adult scumbag in the system's database. Every hair on my body stood on end. Sadie looked at him, and her eyes lit up. "Wow, you're really handsome, big brother. It's over." Her fatal weakness for a pretty face. The teenager blushed slightly at the compliment. "You're very cute, too." He started to hand the cup of water to Sadie. I lunged forward, snatched the cup out of his hand, and stood between him and my daughter. "She's not thirsty." I glared at the boy, my eyes boring into him. This was the face. This was the face that would one day steal all my daughter's love and money, only to cast her aside like trash. I wanted nothing more than to smash that face in right now. The teenager was startled by my aggressive move and looked completely lost. "Sir, get out," I hissed through my teeth. "Daddy," Sadie protested, tugging on my jacket. "Why are you being so mean?" He was being nice. I nearly coughed up blood. Nice. My sweet, foolish daughter. This is the #1 villain who is destined to ruin your life. Ding. Target individual detected. Julian Vance, adolescent version. Scumbag index, in development. Danger level. Maximum alert. System recommendation. Physical separation. Immediately. Now, I pulled Sadie behind me, shielding her like a mother hen protecting her chick. "Stay away from my daughter." Just as the tension in the room reached its peak, Quinn silently walked up to the boy, Julian Vance. She tilted her head up to look at him and suddenly spoke. "Your shoes are fake." The entire room fell silent. The smile on Julian's face froze. Quinn pointed to the logo on his shoe. On the authentic version, the dot on the I is perfectly aligned with the swoosh. Yours is off by 0.3 millimeters. The stitching on the sole is also incorrect. The genuine article uses a cross-stitched double thread. This is a single thread. Market value is $50 tops. The color drained from Julian's face. But Quinn wasn't finished. She gestured to the watch on his wrist. The watch is also a knockoff. On a real Tizot, the second hand moves in a smooth, sweeping motion. Yours has a slight, jerky tick. Furthermore, I've seen this watch's serial number on eBay. It was listed by a known scammer. Julian's body began to tremble. Therefore, Quinn delivered her final verdict. You, from head to toe, are a counterfeit. A person who wraps themselves in fakes must have deep-seated insecurities and a dishonest character. Your approach toward my sister was most likely motivated by our family's financial background, as you were seeking a shortcut in life. Am I correct, Julian Vance? She even knew his name. I then remembered she had been studying the profiles of all contestants and staff members. Julian stared at the terrifyingly calm little girl before him, as if he were looking at a demon. His lips quivered, but no words came out. Finally, with a loud sob, he dropped the tray, turned, and ran out of the room, crying. The dressing room was left in stunned silence. The bishops, mother and son, stood with their mouths agape, looking like they had just seen an alien. The staff members were equally dumbfounded. I looked at my two daughters. One had diagnosed his character flaws through his physiognomy and constitution. The other had systematically dismantled his facade through business logic and analysis. What kind of divine combination was this? Beautiful. That was absolutely masterful. Physical separation combined with a psychological takedown. The scumbag was neutralized on the spot. I hereby declare the formation of the Anti-Scumbag Alliance. Sadie Miller as the political commissar, and Quinn Reed as the supreme commander. I looked at the scene before me and finally let out a laugh. I had been worried for nothing. With these two on the case, it didn't matter if it was the adolescent version of a scumbag or the fully matured one. They would be played so badly they'd question their own existence. My fortune was safe. Chapter 9. The on-the-spot demolition of a future scumbag was just a minor prelude. Soon, it was our turn to go on stage. The host was a seasoned professional, and his eyes lit up when he saw the unique pairing of my two daughters. Wow, and now we welcome a very adorable pair of sisters. Let's give a big hand for Sadie Miller and Quinn Reed. Say hello to everyone. Sadie took the microphone and gave a graceful bow. Hello, everyone. My name is Sadie Miller, and my dream is a world with no incurable diseases. The audience let out a wave of warm, amused laughter. When it was Quinn's turn, she just gave a cool nod. Quinn Reed. My dream is to establish a more efficient commercial order. The audience chuckled even more, assuming it was just kids saying cute, ambitious things. The host smiled. Well, you two certainly have big dreams. So, what talent are you going to show us today? Sadie held up her little medicine box. I'd like to take the host's pulse. The host was taken aback, clearly not expecting this. But for the sake of the show, he smiled and extended his wrist. All right then, go ahead. Tell me how I'm doing. Sadie placed her small fingers on his wrist, closed her eyes, and took on a very serious expression. After a few seconds, she opened her eyes, her face grave. Mr. Host, have you been experiencing insomnia, vivid dreams, weakness in your lower back and knees, and a slight ringing in your ears recently? The smile on the host's face froze. How did you know that? Sadie continued. You have a classic case of liver and kidney deficiency compounded by long-term sleep deprivation, which has led to excessive heart fire. I suggest you drink less alcohol and soak your feet more often. I have here my homemade Peaceful Sleep Aid Tea. Would you like to try it? It's only $2.99 a bag. Buy two and get free shipping. As she spoke, she actually pulled a small tea bag from her medicine box. The entire studio erupted in laughter. Even the director was laughing so hard he nearly forgot to switch cameras. Who would have thought that a talent show could be hijacked and turned into a live sales pitch for a wellness product? The host coughed awkwardly and quickly tried to shift the focus to Quinn. Ahem. Thank you for your concern, Sadie. Now, what about you, Quinn? What talent did you prepare? Quinn took out her tablet and connected it to the large screen on stage. A ridiculously complex PowerPoint presentation appeared on screen. My talent is to present a business model optimization plan for the show, America's Kid Geniuses. The audience fell silent once again. According to my analysis, the show's current revenue model is too singular, with an over-reliance on ad sponsorship. I propose the introduction of a fan voting mechanism with an online donation portal. Simultaneously, we should develop show-related merchandise, like Genius-branded stationery and apparel. We could also launch a premium Genius training camp. She stood in the center of the stage, speaking eloquently and confidently. Her logic was sound, her reasoning was tight, and she threw around professional business terms with ease. The audience, which had started out laughing, slowly grew quiet, and by the end, they were all completely captivated. They stared at the small figure on stage, feeling less like they were watching a kid's show and more like they were attending a top-tier business summit. Even the venture capitalists on the judging panel sat up straighter, their eyes wide with shock and disbelief. When she finished, the host was at a complete loss for words. His worldview had clearly taken a severe beating. There was no question about it. My daughters were a sensation. After the show aired, clips of their performance went viral online. The miracle Dr. Sadie Miller and the business prodigy Quinn Reed became trending topics. Sadie's wellness tea bags sold out overnight. Several investors contacted me through the show, expressing their interest in funding Quinn's business model optimization plan. I watched all of this unfold with a mixture of amusement and exasperation. The main mission, course correction, seemed to be progressing at a breakneck speed in a way I could never have predicted. Sadie, the potential romantic fool, had transformed into a little miracle doctor and entrepreneur whose mind was filled with diagnoses and $2.99 with free shipping. Quinn, the socially impaired genius, had become a young CEO with a legion of followers. Their futures were turning out to be completely different from what I had expected. But somehow, it was even better. I sat on the sofa, watching them argue over a bag of potato chips, one claiming fried foods cause internal heat, the other insisting they calculate the return on investment, and I couldn't help but smile. This was pretty good, too. Ding. Main mission course correction has reached 50% completion. Reward, 500 Prodigy points. User has earned the title Legendary Dad. Title effect. Your educational philosophy will now have a subtle, positive influence on those around you. I stared at the new title effect, a bit confused. My educational philosophy? What educational philosophy? Was it defeat all problems with an obscene amount of money? Whatever. I had more important things to worry about. The girls were hungry. It was time for me to cook dinner. Tonight, I thought, I'll try that new recipe from my master chef's culinary art skill, beef Wellington. Chapter 10. Ever since the TV show, our house had become a hot spot. Every day, reporters and online influencers would try to get an interview, only to be stopped by the security guards at the gate. Various educational institutions, claiming to be cradles for geniuses, wanted to hire my daughters as brand ambassadors, all of which I refused. All I wanted was for them to have a normal, happy childhood. Although their lives were anything but normal. Sadie was now the school's most prized student. The principal had set aside a special herb garden for her on the school grounds, where she could cultivate all sorts of medicinal plants. Her greatest joy was putting on her little rain boots, grabbing her small hoe, and tending to her garden. She even took on a few apprentices, classmates who were also interested in wellness, and would lead them in reciting classical medical texts. Quinn, on the other hand, had expanded her reform efforts beyond the school campus. Using the allowance I gave her, she registered a company called Unforgettable Incorporated. Its primary business was corporate consulting. At first, no one took her seriously, until one day, a friend of mine, whose company was on the brink of collapse due to a broken capital chain, came to me to borrow money. He was so stressed he was losing his hair. Quinn happened to be nearby and overheard the conversation. She quietly took a look at his company's financial statements. After 10 minutes, she proposed a revolutionary solution. Debt restructuring, bring in strategic investors, divest non-performing assets, and refocus on core business. My friend, in a last-ditch effort, decided to follow her advice. 3 months later, his company made a miraculous recovery and was now doing even better than before. After that, the name Boss Quinn became legendary in my social circle. Every day, well-dressed men and women would line up for an appointment, hoping to get some business advice for their multi-billion-dollar companies from a 6-year-old girl. Looking at the constant stream of visitors to my house, I felt like a manager for a child prodigy. And me, with my legendary dad title, had become a renowned parenting expert among my peers. At every party, a crowd of parents would surround me, asking for tips on how to raise such exceptional children. What could I say? I would just gaze thoughtfully into the distance and say profound things like, you have to trust your children and give them the freedom to grow. In reality, my secret was simple: rely on the system and wing it. Life seemed to have found its new, strange rhythm. I even started to believe that the dreaded future of a romantic fool and bankruptcy was a distant memory. Until the day Sadie graduated from elementary school. At the graduation ceremony, she went on stage to give a speech as the student representative. She wore an elegant dress, looking poised and graceful, already showing the promise of a beautiful young woman. Years of my financial support and her own wellness regimen had made her blossom. She stood there like a delicate, budding magnolia. I sat in the audience, filled with a father's pride. After the ceremony, a boy in a crisp, white shirt walked up to Sadie, holding a bouquet of flowers. He was tall and handsome, with a clean, warm smile that shone in the sun. Sadie, congratulations on graduating. I've liked you for a long time. Will you be my girlfriend? The boy asked, his cheeks blushing red as he summoned all his courage. My world shook. This scene, it was so familiar. It was a classic confession scene straight out of a teen drama. I instinctively checked the commentary feed. High alert. High alert. Is this a new scumbag? Wait, this person isn't in the system's database. He actually seems pretty decent. He's the class president, an honor roll student, and his family background is clean. I started to have my doubts. The boy did look like a genuinely good kid. Was I being paranoid? I decided to wait and see how my daughter would react. After years of me drilling the boys are pigs philosophy in her head, surely she could handle this? I watched as Sadie froze upon hearing his confession. Then a blush crept up her face, visible even from a distance, spreading from her cheeks all the way to her ears. She lowered her head, nervously twisting the hem of her dress, the very picture of bashful shyness. It's over. My heart plummeted. That expression, those mannerisms, that was the classic reaction of a girl with her first crush. Was her damn latent romantic fool attribute finally activating? I was about to charge in and put a stop to this budding romance. But Quinn was faster. She appeared out of nowhere, stepping between Sadie and the boy. She adjusted the gold-rimmed glasses she now wore and spoke calmly. "Excuse me. According to the Child Protection Act, Section 3, Subsection B, soliciting a romantic relationship with a minor under the age of 14 constitutes inducement to premature romantic entanglement." The boy, Quinn continued. "Furthermore, my sister is currently in a critical growth phase of her career. Her brand, Sadie's Wellness, is about to enter its series of funding round with a valuation exceeding $100 million. Your presence would serve as a significant distraction, potentially causing irreparable damage to our company. Can you bear that financial responsibility?" The boy, Quinn, then pulled a file out of her bag. "This is a future development plan I've drafted for you. Based on your academic performance and extracurricular strengths, I recommend you pursue a major in artificial intelligence. I have already contacted a professor at MIT who is willing to write you a letter of recommendation. Upon graduation, you can expect a starting salary in the high six figures. At that point, it would be more appropriate for you to consider personal matters." The boy took the thick folder labeled Life Plan and stared at the detailed day-by-day study schedule and career trajectory. He was completely stunned. He looked blankly at Quinn, then at Sadie, who was peeking out from behind her sister's shoulder. Finally, he bowed deeply. "Thank you, Boss Quinn, for your guidance. I'm going to go study now." With that, he tossed the bouquet into a nearby trash can and ran off without a second glance. His retreating figure radiated a newfound passion for knowledge. I watched this surreal turn of events, completely dumbfounded. Ah. Flawless victory. A logical takedown is the most effective takedown. Boy, I just wanted to ask a girl out, and you're sending me off to change the world? Boss Quinn, do not allow futile emotions to impede your coding velocity. The crisis seemed to be averted. I let out a sigh of relief and walked over to them. "Nice work, Quinn." Then I turned to Sadie, ready to give her another lecture on the dangers of boys. But I saw she was wistfully watching the boy run away, a hint of disappointment on her face. My heart clenched again. "Sadie, are you?" Sadie snapped back to reality and waved her hands frantically. "Dad, I'm fine. I was just thinking he ran off so fast. I didn't even get a chance to tell him that his flowers are medicinal. It's safflower, which is great for improving blood circulation. It's such a waste to just throw it away." "Me?" Quinn sighed and patted Sadie's shoulder. "Sister, think bigger. Why worry about a single bouquet of safflower? Once our company goes public, I'll buy you an entire safflower plantation." Sadie's eyes instantly lit up. "Really? Does that mean we can also develop a safflower face mask and safflower essential oil?" "Of course. That's amazing. Quinn, you're the best sister ever." Watching Sadie instantly switch from disappointed maiden to ambitious entrepreneur, I finally completely let go of my fears. To hell with the romantic fool destiny. Building an empire is way more fun, isn't it? I looked at my two daughters, already growing into remarkable young women, one a master of ancient wellness, the other a wizard of the modern market. I suddenly had a new worry. My multi-billion-dollar fortune might not be enough for their ambitions. I needed to work harder at making money. Otherwise, I might not even qualify to be their driver in the future. Ding! Main mission course correction has reached 100% completion. Congratulations, user. You have successfully altered their destiny and raised two god-tier daughters. Calculating final reward. Congratulations, user. You have received 1x Perfect Life Permanent Experience Card, 1x God-tier Father-in-Law Passive Aura. The Prodigy System is now shutting down. Goodbye, user. We wish you and your daughters a happy life. The commentary feed in front of my eyes dissolved into motes of golden light and vanished. I looked at my two daughters, who were now excitedly discussing their future business empire, and felt the warm afternoon sun on my face. A proud, fatherly smile spread across my lips. This, I thought, must be the best kind of problem to have in the whole world.